This video is going to explore algebra a little more deeply by looking at a common procedure used, and that is multiplying out algebraic terms. So it's a constant in algebra where you're going to be dealing with different variables, and in order to expand functions or simplify functions, you're going to need to multiply out the terms in order to do so, to solve the problems. So I've just done three examples, starting with one that's quite straightforward, and then again moving up in difficulty to a pretty meaty final one. So we'll begin with the first example. So the first thing to note when talking about multiplying algebraic terms is to go by the rule of you're multiplying coefficient by coefficient, and then you're multiplying variable by variable. So what is a coefficient and what is a variable? Take our first example, which is 4x multiplied by 2x cubed. So in this expression, the coefficient would be 4, and then the variable would be x. And in this one, the coefficient would be 2, and the variable would be x. So it's the number that's being multiplied. It's in front of the variable. So then multiplying this algebraic term is, we use basically a simplified, so if I have, this is basically just to keep in your mind. So when you see an x, that's the same as x is equal to, or x to the power of 1 is x to the power of 1, or anything to the power of 1 is just itself. Now a second rule, implicit rule, that we're going to use when multiplying out these functions is also going to be, say, x to the power of p multiplied by x to the power of q. That is equal to x to the power of p plus q. So keeping these two rules in mind. So we have any x is the same as x to the 1, and then if we have x to the power of anything multiplied by another variable to the power, the same base, x and x, it's then x to the power of p plus q. So one power plus the other power. So if you have two functions with x in product with one another, you're adding the indices, you're adding the powers. Okay, so keeping these two rules in mind, we have 4x multiplied by 2x to the power 3. So going over our two rules up here, we've coefficient by coefficient. So we have our coefficient here and our coefficient here. So then multiplying them two terms, 4 by 2 will give us 8, well, equals here, will give us 8, and then we're going to multiply the variable and the variable. We have an x and an x cubed. Now going over to this rule, you can see we have an x, which is the same as x to the 1. So you could even, if it makes it easier for you, do a 1 in there. So now we have an x to the 1, and we're multiplying it by an x to the 3. So can you draw a comparison between this example and this rule? So we have an x to the p, or x to the 1, multiplied by x to the 3, which is the same as multiplied by x to the q. P and q are just numbers. In this case, it's 1 and 3. And how we multiply that is that we keep the same variable x, and we're adding the powers. So it's going to be p plus q. So remember, p is 1, q is 3, p plus q, we're going to get x 1 plus 3 to the 4th. And that's this expression multiplied, 8x to the power of 4. Okay, so the next example, we have two variables. Up here we just had x, and down here we're dealing with an x and a y. The same rules apply. It's coefficient by coefficient and variable by variable. Okay, so we find a coefficient here and a coefficient here. So then straight away we can multiply 2 and 3 to give us 6. Now we have to multiply the variables at one another. So an important point to note is that one variable, say x, will only multiply with its counterpart in the other set of brackets, the other expression. So this x will multiply with this x. Okay, so we have one of the x's here, another of the x here, and again using this rule, remember x to the p, or x to the 2 in this case, multiplied by x to the q, or x to the 3, we then just add the powers. So that leaves us with x squared multiplied by x to the 3. It's going to be equal to x p plus q. That's 2 plus 3, x to the 5. So that's the x's done. So now what we need to do is to deal with the y variables. So y here. So again, if it helps, you can write the y to the 1 here. If it helps you to notice that we're going to be using this rule, x to the p plus by x to the q. So then we're multiplying this y to the 1 by this y squared. And that's going to give us y times y squared. It's going to give us y cubed. Sorry, I should put equals there. And now that expression multiplied. So again, we multiplied the coefficient by the coefficient, and then we multiplied the variable by variable. So the variable first was the x by the x, and then the next variable was y by the y, which gave us this 6x to the 5y cubed. So that's the first two examples done. So the final example is quite a meaty one. We're dealing with a's and b's. Now, as I said in a previous video, it really doesn't matter what the variables are. It can be x's and y's, a's and b's, bananas and apples. It really doesn't matter. The important part is applying the same logic, the same ruling to this expression, and just working through it and then ending up with hopefully the correct answer. So the easiest way to approach something that looks this long and complex is to break it up into its constituent parts. So we have 1, 2, 3 sub-expressions within this overall expression. So first, you can see that by the ruling we say coefficient by coefficient. So we see a coefficient here. Now you might say, well, there's no coefficient in the against the a, but there is. A, that's the same as just 1a. We just don't write the 1. If you just seen a, that's 1a. Same with b, x, y. It implicitly has a 1 coefficient in front of it. So applying the rule, 1 multiplied by 3 is 3. And you can see that there's a variable a in this expression, but not found in this one. So we just keep that as a. And then it's the same story. The b squared exists here, but there's no counterpart b in there. So you just leave the b squared as it is. So this expression multiplied is 3ab squared. Now going on to the next one. We have a plus in there. Coefficient by coefficient. So 2 multiplied by 1 is 2. Now variable by variable. We have a squared and a to the power 1. So a squared multiplied by a to the 1 is equal to going to be a with the 2 powers added together. So that's going to be a 2 plus 1 is 3. Second variable, b cubed there and a b there. That's going to be b 3 plus 1 is 4. So this expression, when multiplied out, equals 2a cubed b to the 4. And then finally, we have a minus. We have something slightly different with this last expression. We have an a cubed b to the 4 multiplied by a b to the negative power. But the ruling you could probably work out from looking at this example. We have x to the p multiplied by x to the q equals x to the p plus q. But if I said that q was minus, then you would just be adding a minus number. So in effect, that would be p minus q. So it's the exact same, except the sign is just switched. But before we get to that, we have to deal with the first variable, which is a cubed. There's no a variable in here, so that just stays as a cubed. Now, b to the 4, b to the minus 2. If that was a positive 2, like in all the other examples, we would just add them together. So you're doing no different. If I said to you, what's 4 plus minus 2? That's essentially what you're doing. You would tell me that that's 4 minus 2, which equals 2. And it's the exact same. That's going to be b, that's going to equal b 4 plus minus 2, or 4 minus 2. If going straight from here to here makes more sense, you're going to be left with a 4 minus 2, which is 2. So this expression here is with all of the sub-expressions multiplied out. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you'd like to subscribe, I'll be doing a lot more tutorial videos like this, and my last 2 videos has been the very beginning of algebra, and I'm going to slowly work my way up all the way up to quite high level stuff. So if you want to follow the videos, and you might pick up something along the way, do subscribe, or leave a comment and say you've subscribed. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next video. I'm going to try and do one a week at least, so yeah, keep an eye out for that. Thanks.